I'm Bonnie,
And I'm Margie.
and we're here with Michael and Daylight. Daylight's a dear friend of Margie's and mine, and Michael's a new friend, to have another intimate conversation. So, without further ado, Daylight and Michael, why don't you introduce yourselves?
All right. Well, I'm Daylight, and I have been dancing around the possibility of an intimate relationship for probably a year and a half, and done things like mind movies and manifestations and meditations and whatnot, and realizing that even though I said that's what I wanted, I didn't really want that. I was really afraid that it was going to impact my life in a way that wasn't positive, that would somehow inhibit who it is that I am and what I can do. So I did a process called the Emotion Code, and the Emotion Code was designed to release the blockages in front of my heart. And I've noticed my world opened up out of that exercise. And so basically, I found myself on the internet looking at spiritual singles. I saw Michael's face. I said, I like that face. I looked at his profile and said, you got it right, universe. It's exactly what I'm looking for. And sent him a note and said, well, we'll see what happens.
Maybe I should go read my profile.
Oh, well, wait, let me Daylight shared your profile with me, and I went, the guy's a really good writer, but that's way too good to be true. And we laughed about it, and I had shared with you and read a little snippet of it, which I didn't ask permission to do. And both of us said the same thing, and then the next thing we knew, you were flying here to meet Daylight, and I just was tickled because it meant that in your connecting with her on the phone and email, there was something about who you portrayed yourself to be in your profile was getting through her filters and her concerns. And so that helped me to relax into trusting you before I met you, which was a really lovely process for me in loving you. And one of our agreements is we tell each other when we're concerned. I know I'm watching the McLeod sisters, daughters, and they do all this, well, should I tell my friend, and am I stepping on somebody's toes, is it my place? And so it's been a really lovely process for us in general. And
they're living vicariously through me, is what she's saying.
Yes, that was what I.
Well, that too.
In a nutshell.
That was what I was going to add. Is I think we're all at the place where we would like relationships to be different than they have been in the past, for them to be more open and for them to be more authentic. And we all have fears, and so we're watching you, going, okay, show us how to do it.
Well, and the other, what I was saying was also knowing that I could say to you, whoa, I've got red flags, or I'm concerned, and so that's this that you've now stepped into very boldly and bravely. So over to you.
Yeah, so I have no idea what your reaction was. I have no idea what your motivation was.
To what?
To responding to me,
Oh,
to,
okay.
I don't know. So tell us.
Okay, well, my name is Michael. I have done a lot of personal development work over the last 30 years. I discovered dynamism like 12 years ago, and that's been by far the most helpful for me. And I've been interested in a long-term relationship for a long time, but my picker was broken. And
your pecker? Oh no, your picker. Okay.
there's a difference. I'll show you later.
Who's blushing the most here?
I think all four of us.
It's a good thing the wall is pink. No one will ever notice.
So a lot of that was because I had a lot of self-worth issues. And 6 weeks ago, I spent a week in San Diego, and it was an amazing week, and I got all that cleared up. I used to have all this chatter in my head. And when we finished, we were doing some communication exercises on the last day. And I had to stop in the middle of the communication exercise and said, you know, my mind has never been this quiet in my entire life. It was just almost blank. It was awesome. And I used to have all these thoughts, you know, you're not good enough, you're worthless, you know, you don't matter, all this stuff. I've had, I think, one thought in the last 6 weeks. One. And I blew it away real quick.
So you're going to share this with us.
No.
Not necessarily while we're on camera, but you're going to help me get there.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm getting my free dynamism lesson. Yes, no question.
That's awesome, because that is what
So-
plagues me. So back to you.
So I don't remember, I think it was right after that, it might have been just before that, is when I wrote my profile. I've been on Spiritual Singles several times before and gotten off for various reasons, but I just joined either just before or just after I went to San Diego on that trip and wrote this profile.
I'm learning all this too.
It's totally, a new profile, different from my old one. Well, one or two parts are the same, but most of it's new. And it's funny, several people have written to me that your profile seems too good to be true, but they were checking to continue the conversation. She sends me this standard hello thing, and I read her profile and was really impressed. I said, well, we'll see what happens, and here I am.
So what's your impression so far?
I'm very impressed. She's an awesome lady. And I told her yesterday, she's beautiful inside and outside. I told her she's even more beautiful inside than she is outside.
Well, I'm not sure what that. No, that's a negative chatter. Ignore that.
Isn't
yes.
that funny though? How
Yeah.
we, because I had, as you said, that the same, and yet really weighing what's really important. That's really a huge compliment.
Oh yeah, it is.
The inside is much more important to me.
Right, exactly.
Wow. Well, great. Thank you. I mean, I didn't, I figured it was the universe. I mean, what are the odds, really? I mean, and that you had just gone through pretty much the same thing I did. You did it through dynamism, and I did it through the emotion code.
Right.
And we both opened our hearts from different places, and somehow I really believe the universe somehow brought us together, because it's really kind of craziness.
There's no doubt.
You being from Colorado and all.
And
I've been here less than 24 hours.
And I think that this is an example of why we need to do the inner work, and I don't think it matters which inner work. I think whatever one I do is the most exciting because I'm doing it. But the important thing is to do it. So I'm so glad that I've been on this doing too.
I think it's very similar to, there's the religions always fight, my way's right. There's many, many paths to the same goal, and I think it's true of self-development too.
I think whatever resonates with you, do it. If something calls you, do it. Don't even think about it.
And I think somehow there's just some timing element, that is beyond our control, because all of us have done many different things. And something clicked for me and something clicked for you that opened our heart to the possibility.
But I think it's also that we're finally ready. I think that's part of the timing. We may have wanted things before, but we just plain weren't ready.
Well, she kind of said that a few minutes ago.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready.
And for me, that being ready is more about being than it is about doing. We needed to do to get ourselves to where we could see the divinity, we could accept that we don't have to do any more to deserve.
Right.
That
Perfectly
that
said.
we live, that we've chosen to accept the universe as having our backs, that we are loved by all that is God, whatever we want to call source, and we're not questioning. Talk about mind chatter. That's where mine would, if I followed it and listened carefully, it was, do I deserve? Have I done enough? and the part of the shift that we're all making right now is from the I need to keep doing, or I won't deserve, or the other shoe will fall, or whatever beliefs of that old paradigm, that we're now coming to be together, and that's coming to our hearts with the walls down.
For me, it's allowing me to look at my relationship to trust, and I don't think it's been my strong suit for much of my life, for whatever reason. And so, and it's not about trusting you. It's really much more about trusting me and trusting my relationship with a power that's higher than that's there to help me. That relationship continues to develop every day. Every day.
I'm curious if either of you have seen your heart close when you got. When I get afraid, my heart will close, and then I'll want a distance, and then I have to consciously open it and bring myself back. Has that happened to either of you in the last 24 hours?
Yeah.
Not in the last 24 hours. I've had that experience many times in the past.
Okay.
But probably in the last 6 months, I haven't felt my heart close. It's 6 weeks. I haven't felt my, you know, I had this amazing clearing, and it was awesome.
I had some moments before I met you. I had some moments of doubt. You know, that you sent an email. He sent an email with his intentions for this visit.
Can I ask what the intentions are?
Do you remember them?
I remember one of them was to have fun,
Yes.
but there were like 2 others, and I don't
One
remember.
was to meet, have conscious conversations, I think, or something like that. And to meet a lovely woman or something like that.
Yeah.
And for it to be the start of his last intimate relationship.
No, that was a hope. That was not an intention.
That was a hope. Okay, yeah, that was a hope. Okay, so I read that and said, I bet he says that to all the girls.
You've said that 4 or 5 times in the last
So
24 hours. You've been hanging around with the wrong guy.
Yes, I have.
Well, those, see, now they have to have been the right guys at the time.
At the time, yeah,
Yeah.
everything's
and
perfect.
that's
Yes.
and that's
Yeah.
something that I catch myself, is those kinds of comments, and that's what we do with each other.
Yeah, you're right.
Is
Yeah.
wait, can't be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't be.
I have noticed in all my relationships that at one point would have said I had a poor picker, but I look back and see where every one of those relationships healed something in me to bring me to the next place, to bring me to the next place. And it wasn't until I became whole that I could start wanting a whole relationship instead of one that was fragmented or healing pieces of me or them.
Right.
Well, I was saying I had a broken picker in jest,
No.
but I mean, you know, for most people when they look at it, they would sort of say that. But I agree completely. I learned so much from all of those relationships and made me who I am today. I have no regrets.
And it's catching ourselves in those, I call them lazy communications.
That's
You
good.
know, we just blurt out something, and the beauty of the open heart is the willingness to go, did you really, is that what you really meant to say? What about? You know, which is what we just did. And so I'm curious, have you guys what's it been like having met on the internet less than a month ago?
Yeah.
I mean, 3 weeks maybe?
I think we've been talking for 3 weeks.
I think it's 3 weeks.
And now less than 24 hours together in person. Could you just talk a little bit about what that's been like?
Did you want me to start?
Sure. Well, it sounded like you were going to.
It looked like it too.
Thank you.
What has been, I think the reason, I'm guessing, the reason you're here is because of the types of communications we had on the phone. And like in our first conversation, we were talking about the distinction between a special relationship and a holy relationship, and that it wasn't about us getting each other to like each other. It was really about liking who we were in the presence of each other. And so I think that was one of the things we wanted to check out to see if, am I going to like myself when he's around?
Yes, beautifully said.
So for me, it's almost like having either one of you come and spend a week with me. Okay, no offense. I mean, there's some sexual undertones, you know, but you know, we're keeping that like as heart-centered as we do, whatever. But the conversations are like this. This is a constant conversation that we're just going, and we're learning about each other because we spent very different for me. All of our talking and our communications had nothing to do with our past. I had no idea what he did for a living. I had no idea where he went to school.
Well, you knew he was a coach.
Yeah, but before. I mean.
Oh, okay. Previously. Okay. Just checking.
No, I knew. Yeah, we had a website. So
right.
I knew a lot about him.
That's what I thought.
And I knew nothing about her, except for the phone conversation.
Yeah,
and the profile.
Because you Googled me.
She didn't have a lot on her profile. She got some.
I did. It was a 2-year-old profile.
Oh, good. Wow.
And I said, in 2 years, a lot's changed. That's all I said was, but yeah, really. But so yeah, I'm really glad it worked. Whatever. But
I was really impressed. You know, like our very first conversation where we were talking about special and holy relationships, and we went really deep. And all of our conversations have been like that. And that's why one of my intentions was to continue the awesome conversations.
Yeah.
Rather than have the presence and the sexual energy have that shut
If that
down.
comes, great. If it doesn't, she's an awesome lady. I want
Right.
to stay.
But the old ways of doing things, that sexual attraction energy would often lead, you know, rather than emerge from. And often that's not true. Sometimes, because sometimes I've known somebody and become close, and then the sexuality came with it, or into it. But it's I'm really enjoying being part of and witness.
Well, my past experience, the sexual part came immediately, which is why some of my relationships have been so yucky, and I don't know how to act in this new way.
Yeah, that's something you said in the talk with Speed as well, that that was then, and now given who you are, you know that you want it to be different. What does that look like? So I'm curious, as you're witnessing and listening here, is anything happening over there for you?
Affirmation of the fact that I would like it to be in the moment, authentic, heart-centered. I like the holy relationship, and let the other unfold as it does.
You alluded to, or maybe said outright about our languaging and taking from the files from the past, and I'm noticing with myself. I mean, as present as I try to be, that still happens, and actually it happens. And this is my take on it. It happens a lot in humor. The humor is coming from the past. Does that make any sense?
Yes.
And and I think that's me trying to get comfortable. I love to laugh. You like to laugh, but I'm coming from the old files. Okay, as opposed to the creation of a now humor. I don't know. I don't even know what a now humor is, but it's just a noticing.
I think of now humor is just being in the moment and commenting or, you know.
And finding whatever is going on as funny.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
And we've had a couple of moments of that here together. I mean, we've had some really full laughter that we've all shared that's been charming, intoxicating, engaging, going deeper, you know.
And there's nothing wrong with, you know, the past humor, really, not at all, because it's like taking a sigh. It's like breathing.
Yep.
It's like breathing. You know, when you laugh, it just, you know, it brings you, it makes you present again. It makes you okay.
Well, laughter is one of the best medicines. I've known people who have cured cancer just by watching comedy on TV 24/7.
Well, that's Norman Cousins. Is
Yes.
that? Yeah, right.
And I think it's okay to have past humor if something from the past triggers you, and then you use humor to let it go. And just the fact that you recognize that it was something out of the past, I think that's where the healing takes place. I think that as soon as we recognize it's really gone.
I didn't really think about it until sitting here having this conversation, you know, so.
But isn't that why we have these conversations?
Yes.
This is what I find with Bonnie. I'll have a conversation with her and I'll say, wow, it just hit me this moment, an awareness that I had, but I didn't recognize until we're having the conversation. And I think that's why.
Well, that's one of the principles of dynamism, is when you speak it out loud and you hear what you're thinking, it really makes a bigger impact. And if you just think it, you know, it gets muddled with all your other thoughts. But when you actually speak something, you say, oh, did I say that?
Because I sure, as these guys will testify, do a lot of thinking out loud. And go ahead, Daylight.
No, no.
I saw you had a thought.
Well, I find, you know, the other thing that's kind of interesting about this is like, I feel really bold. I feel really bold.
Do you now? Good word.
And she told me yesterday I was bold.
Yeah.
You both? I mean, I think we wouldn't be here if we all didn't have some of that boldness. And I like the word bold better than courage, but I'm interrupting back to you.
Okay, so I get a message from Louise, and she said she and Ian are going to Cancun for a Dispenza conference in December, and I said, all right, would you want to go? And I said, yeah. I said, so Michael, want to go? Well, ma'am, yeah, okay. I mean, it's like, well, who am I to ask this person I've known for 24 hours if he'd like to go for a week-long meditation in Cancun in December? And yet it felt as natural as, and if you don't, that's okay. But, you know, it's just interesting.
So the boldness is being in the moment and continuing to take the leap off the edge rather than back away from the edge and fear.
And we're not really, we haven't done any future stuff at all, really. So that was like a
Oh, got it. I missed that.
That was a step. You know, we haven't been doing past and we haven't been doing future.
Yeah.
So.
But in that moment, you thought, wow, it might be nice if he joined me. So that was in the now. In this
It
now,
was.
I
It
thought
absolutely
it
was.
would be
Yeah.
nice
It
for
was,
him to join
absolutely.
me.
So he's got something to say. I see it.
It seemed like a fun thing to do, and I'm very interested in meditation, learning and growing and expanding. And to me, when things come up, I'm getting more and more and more to the point where I just accept. And if it feels good, I'm going to go do it. And
Cool.
In fact, there's another one, there's a week long in Cancun.
yeah.
There's another one in Costa Rica, like with like a week in between. He said, let's do them both.
Nice.
Of course, the one in Costa Rica is sold out, but
At the moment.
At the moment, yeah. So I sent him an email saying I'd like to get on your waiting list.
For two.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But she told me she's never been on a 2-week vacation in her life, so I said, we need to fix that.
oh, very
Yeah.
nice, very nice.
Yeah.
So I know we've been talking for quite a while,
Yeah.
and
Wrap it up.
I would like to, and before we do, is there anything for any of us that's come up in the conversation that we want to capture, or is it time to just kind of do a recap?
The only thing that's come up for me is the feeling of excitement, and I don't know if it's for you, for me, or for all of us, but I get the feeling it's for all of us in that just seeing this is how we're moving forward.
It's for all of the above.
Yes, I agree.
The other thing that I'm normally not really comfortable in this arena, you know, being filmed and all of that, but to me, this is great practice for Sunday.
That's what I was thinking.
You know?
Oh, nice.
Because we have, you know, we're creating a workshop of some
Right.
sort.
And that's bold, not having even met, I mean, for us to do workshops here locally, but this is your first where you're leading, and then for you to say yes, and I've been co-creating it with you guys.
And this has been really fun because what it's doing is we are exploring the masculine and the feminine between each other as a part of what it is that's going to happen on Sunday.
Yes.
So, in fact, I think that's what Sunday's about. It's all about us.
And we're going to invite the participants to participate if they want, the audience, whatever. But if they don't, we can carry it. Trust me, we have plenty of
Wait,
material.
you have to remember both of us will be
We
there.
have some participants.
I didn't know if you guys would.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
yeah.
Oh,
there.
Michael, really? She goes there, and
Yeah.
no, we'll be
Well, I
there.
just met her 10
I
minutes
know,
ago.
I know. You wouldn't have known that.
And knowing the other people who will be there, they're going to want
Right.
to play.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So I want to thank both of you so very much for being bold and saying yes to this before you even met.
Yes,
Um,
we did.
You did it.
Yes.
And I want to thank you for being such a delicious friend and you, and to have you as a new friend.
Thank you.
Yes, this has been lovely.
And,
Thank you.
and thank you for having the vision that this would be perfect for what it is that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.